Welcome to Module 3. We're going to be talking about kindness. I think if you were to ask a person on the street who watches Ted Lasso what one word might apply to the character of Ted, they might say kindness. In fact, in the show, Rebecca, when she meets Ted's mom, says, "You created the kindest person I've ever met." Something to, I mean, those are not the exact words, but he is kind and it seems to be legitimate. We'll discuss some dark stuff going on with him in the next module, but it does seem to be genuine and authentic that he's a kind person, kind of chooses to be that way no matter what. Now, I will say, when we talk about kindness, there people start saying, well, I don't want to be a doormat. And yeah, you don't want to allow yourself to be abused, used and abused. You don't want to be a doormat, but there is a way, to hold the tension of the opposites between um, not being a doormat and then just being a cold-hearted person. So there's like a tension of the opposites there. It's almost like don't let the other people turn you into them, even if they're being mean to you. And so here's uh, the thing: he cares even when the players make fun of him. Jamie Tart, for example, when Ted starts, he gets made fun of a lot by the fans, by the team members, by other coaches, by the TV people, the news people, the even the owner, and all, almost everybody, the people at the bar, everybody makes fun of Ted. We wonder how he survived. He survived by being kind and by caring, even when everybody made fun of him. And it takes a thick skin to be a teacher. And one of the things that I've learned is that when maybe two students are kind of cracking jokes in the back of the class and you think that they're talking about you, and they probably are, maybe they're not, but they probably are. It really has more to do with their relationship that they're trying to build than it does with your relationship with them. And in fact, the fact that they can objectify you means that they don't really have a relationship with you yet. And that's a problem. It's like you're the performer or the star, not whatever. You may not feel like a star, but you're the performer on the stage and they feel like they can heckle you because you're not real almost. And so we've got to get past that. And other students kind of get upset with the students who are acting that way because there will be some students in the classroom you too have a relationship with. Maybe you've had class with them before. Or maybe they've had some struggles and you've talked to them one on one and they feel like they know you more or whatever. Um, and so that just goes to show the importance of this idea of relationship, teacher student relationship. So be curious, not judgmental. That's another one of those really big things on Ted Lasso is to just not judge people, to just know everybody's got a ton of things going on. All your students have a ton of things going on at home, at school, with their friends, with other teachers, with their families, whatever. And maybe they've got illnesses or, some struggles, maybe mental, emotional struggles, spiritual struggles, physical struggles. There's all kinds of things going on. And so just the idea of not passing judgment. I find that when you judge or pity people, you end up having to walk a mile in their shoes. You might even sponge them, I call it, if you're an empathetic person or an empathic person. But um, just the idea of when you're passing judgment, you're saying, I know everything about you, right? We know that we don't know everything about the other person. And I put the dartboard up here because Rupert certainly didn't know that Ted was an expert at darts when he challenged him to a game. He just assumed he wasn't. And Ted played most of the game with his non dominant hand very well, before he switched. I should have said spoiler. But to be curious, to ask questions, And as a busy teacher, you're behind on grading. You don't even know what you're going to do in class tomorrow. It's sometimes hard to stop and to take the time to ask a question, to ask a student, "Hey, what's going on? What's up? How was your weekend? What are you doing over the holiday or whatever?" To develop that relationship instead of just assuming that because that student is this, that, or the other, that that's stereotyping. If I assume that an athlete is going to act a certain way or be a certain way or whatever, that's stereotyping. We have to be curious, not judgmental. Vulnerabilities are revealed that make the characters relate to their enemies. This scene, again, one of those scenes that makes me cry. Roy and Jamie did not like each other. We find out later that Jamie grew up worshiping Roy, ended up on the same team with him, probably on purpose, right? He probably orchestrated that somehow. Um, but Roy did not like this kid who was better than him coming in and playing better than him, and it made him cranky, and he was getting old, and so Jamie just got defensive and arrogant, and then Roy was judgmental and whatever, and they were just butting heads. And I don't know that they would have healed that relationship if it hadn't been for Ted's influence. I mean, Ted got them together talking. I've had people in my life that were in conflict and refused to talk. And there wasn't anything I could do to make them talk, to get them to talk. So it's impossible to have a relationship or a transformation with people you refuse to talk to. Um, but the idea that when Roy found out the kind of father that Jamie had and grew up with, and when Jamie, stood up to that father in front of them, and then Roy comes towards him and we don't know what he's going to do, and Jamie, they just try to hit his father, and we're thinking, is Roy going to hit him? I don't know. Um, and then he hugs him, and Jamie cries. I mean, what an impactful scene that was. And it's all about vulnerabilities. We know Brene Brown talks about showing your vulnerabilities in leadership and even as a teacher. I mean, we don't need to overshare with our students, and I probably am guilty of that from time to time. But we do need to share, and we don't need to be defensive, and we don't need to act like we've got it all together if we don't have it all together. And if I'm super duper behind on grading, can I really get mad at a student who didn't turn something in on time? I have to deal with my own struggles and be open to helping them with theirs, and they're going to be vulnerable with me, and I'm going to be vulnerable with them. And that's okay. And that's how we get to this relationship we're talking about. According to, I think that's Taylor and Francis, that was an article I found on their website, um, a journal article about student teacher relationships. Our findings emphasize the value of positive teacher student relationships in every day and demonstrate how they can promote students' well being and encourage them to attend school. And so it's not just about how they're doing in your class, but you can impact whether they stick with school, whether they keep showing up, whether they graduate by having that relationship, by checking in, by caring, by knowing their name. It's really hard. I have some really large courses, and I've been trying more now to learn people's names. I'm always scared I'm going to get it wrong, but I'm trying so hard because it makes a big difference to be able to call somebody by name. Um, they're not invisible. I have this feeling sometimes that students think that they are invisible, like you don't see them, they don't matter. It doesn't matter if they come, it doesn't matter if they turn in their work. They just have this really sense of invisibility. But when you see them, they go, oh, maybe I shouldn't be whispering in class. Maybe I shouldn't be on my phone in class. They can see me. They know I'm alive. You're mirroring them in the classroom. You're asking them to participate, being able to put some feedback on their assignment that says, I'm the world's worst about just saying great job, but to be able, we're supposed to give specific feedback about what we thought was great about it. Uh, great writing here. You really told a great story in this section or whatever, whatever you're teaching, whatever you're grading. Building those relationships. Now, there is I'm going to say, a dark side to building a relation. You don't want to build a codependent, too close, weird relationship with a student, of course, but sometimes you build a relationship with students and then maybe something really bad happens to them. Doesn't have anything to do with you, but you run the risk of being heartbroken, by this relationship that you have built with a student. It's happened to me often, in particular, in a time, in a case, in one particular case and another, but um, building that relationship is super duper important and can be painful. But more likely than not, it is rewarding and meaningful. And so, from my experience, teachers are sometimes pressured to be tough. I remember when I first started teaching, I don't know that I was so much pressured to be tough as I just thought teachers were supposed to be tough. No, you can't turn that in late. No, you can't get any points for that. Big fat zero. I gave plenty of zeros for people who didn't make it to the test. Had one student who was in jail, didn't make it to the test, wouldn't let him make it up. It wasn't my fault, but didn't graduate at that time. Later, I tried to help him. That didn't work. And then he, 5 years later, came back, took that same class, said, "Hey, I'm sorry, I was immature before, and I'm going to do that." And he took it, and he did well, and he graduated. Most stories have happy endings, not all of them. But what I'm trying to say is sometimes with certain groups of teachers, they think you're just weak. You're just a softie. You're just a bleeding heart. We hear these terms in politics as well, but I don't think, I think if you're incapable of saying no, then you're a doormat. If you've said no a lot, you can say no, then it becomes a choice to say yes. You have the ability to say yes. And another thing is that I had to learn was that, you want this blanket system of justice. I've got to treat everybody exactly the same. Yes, we do, right? But there are special circumstances. Not everybody in the class lost a parent this semester, but one person may have. And that's a special circumstance. And yes, we need to treat them differently. So um, and I think a lot of teachers just say no because it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to let somebody turn something in late and to decide how many points they should get and to be fair with everybody. It's a lot of work to create extra credit assignments and then grade those as well. And so I think that sometimes it's just easier to be tough. My younger sister told me she preferred teachers that were tough. And I think it was just because it was black and white. There were no gray areas. The main thing that I think we need to teach our students is to care enough to come to us in advance, care enough about their grade to come to us in advance and ask if they can have an extension because they have a special circumstance, to feel comfortable enough that we're not going to yell at them so that they can come and ask us. We may not say yes, but I think they need to feel like it's not dangerous, that we're approachable. I hear that term a lot. As a teacher, you need to be approachable. And the way that we can be approachable or, have the reputation of that is just through kindness. We have bad days. You have bad days. I do. The students do. And we can just grouchily, go at it. Or we can take a deep breath. We can go in the bathroom and cry our tears so we're not angry all the time. We can come back and um, and choose to be kind and to be vulnerable, to say, look, students, I'm having a bad day today and I apologize. I mean, it's scary to apologize to students, but I apologize for being cranky yesterday or this morning or today or 2 minutes ago. I've had students go, I didn't even know you were cranky. Sometimes we think we're being mean when we're not. We just know that we're upset and we're going through something different and handling it in a different way. All right. So on module 4, we're going to talk about well-being, not just your students' well-being, but your well-being. And in module 3 about kindness, there are some activities. So I hope you'll take time to look at those. Thank you.